Hi, welcome to Educational Job Guide YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to see the permanent professor, associate professor and assistant professor vacancies from one of the government university. It will be the wonderful opportunity to the candidates who are looking for this type of opportunity. So please share this video with your friends and colleagues. To get my next video on notification, subscribe the channel and then tap the all bell icon and watch this video until the end to get the complete details regarding this multiple discipline or subject recruitment notification from this government university. And now, while coming to the present content of this video, so it is the official website of this university. So you can check down here Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak. It is official website, and if you enter into this website, you may check down here scrolling advertisement for recruitment in teaching posts. Click here for details. So if you click on this one, and then it will be directed to this recruitment notification. So here the official recruitment notification is given. So let's check about which departments are having the which subject notification. Indira Gandhi National Tribal University. Date of notification 15th July 2023. Advertisement. Online applications are invited from Indian nationals including overseas citizens of India for various teaching posts in the Indira Gandhi National Tribal University main campus at Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh and regional campus at Imphal, Manipur. Eligible candidates should fill in the online applications from through IGNTE website. Here the official website are mentioned. You may check down properly with carefully and must submit hard copy of application from through speed or registered post only along with self-attested photocopies of all supporting documents or testimonials. Now coming to the important dates. Start date of online application 15th July 2023. Last date of online application 14th August 2023. Last date of receiving of hard copy of application from 21st August 2023. Here mention the vacancies, post name and pay scale. First, professor category, academic pay level 14, where the entry pay 1,44,200 rupees, total vacancies 23. Then associate professor, academic pay level 13A, where entry pay 1,31,400 rupees, total vacancies 21. Then assistant professor, academic pay level 10, where entry pay 57,700 rupees, total vacancies 37. Now coming to the details of the vacancies are as follows. Here the department wise, post wise, total number of vacancies are mentioned. Ancient Indian history, culture and archaeology. Total number of vacancies 1 for assistant professor. Then biotechnology. Total number of vacancies 2 for associate professor, 2 for assistant professor. Then botany, 1 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Business management, 1 for professor. Then chemistry, 1 for professor, 1 for organic chemistry assistant professor, 1 for inorganic chemistry assistant professor. Commerce, 1 for associate professor. Computer science, 1 for professor, 1 for assistant professor. Then computer science RCM, 1 for professor. Economics, 1 for associate professor and 1 for assistant professor. Then education, 2 for professor, 1 for assistant professor in mathematics, 1 for assistant professor in history, 1 for assistant professor in psychology, 1 for assistant professor in English. Then English and foreign language, 2 for assistant professor. Then environmental science, 1 for associate professor. Geography, 1 for professor, 2 for assistant professor. Hindi, 1 for professor. History, 2 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Then home science, 1 for professor. Then journalism and mass communication, 1 for professor, 1 for assistant professor. Linguistics and constructive study of tribal language, 1 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Mathematics, 1 for professor, 1 for assistant professor. Missiology, 1 for professor, 1 for assistant professor. Nursing, 1 for professor, 2 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Performing arts, 1 for professor, 1 for associate professor. Pharmacy, 1 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Physical education HQ, 1 for professor, 3 for assistant professor. Physical education RCM, 1 for professor, 1 for associate professor. Physics, 1 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Then political science and human rights HQ, 1 for professor, 2 for assistant professor. Political science and human rights, 1 for professor, 1 for assistant professor. Then psychology, 1 for professor, 1 for associate professor, 2 for assistant professor. Then social work HQ, 1 for professor, 2 for associate professor, 1 for assistant professor. Then sociology and social anthropology HQ, 1 for assistant professor for social anthropology. Then statistics, 1 for associate professor. Tourism management, 1 for professor, 1 for associate professor. Tribal studies, art, culture and folk literature, 1 for professor, 1 for assistant professor. Yoga, 1 for associate professor. Zoology, 1 for professor and 1 for assistant professor. Here mention the PWBD or person with benchmark disabilities details. You may check down properly with carefully. Now coming to the qualification and experience. Here the department wise educational qualification and minimum eligibility criteria are mentioned in detail. You may check down properly with carefully. First, for professor category, business management, chemistry, computer science, geography, home science, journalism and mass communication, mathematics, missiology, physical education, political science and human rights, psychology, social work, tourism management and zoology. Here the details are mentioned. You may check down properly. Then professor of Department of Education, then professor in Department of Nursing, professor in the Department of Performing Arts, professor in the Department of Tribal Studies, Art, Culture and Folk Literature. Then associate professor category for biotechnology, botany, commerce, economics, environmental science, history, linguistics and conservative studies of tribal languages, physical education, physics, psychology, social work, statistics, tourism management, yoga. Associate professor in the Department of Nursing, associate professor in the Department of Performing Art, associate professor in the Department of Pharmacy. Now coming to the assistant professor category for biotechnology, botany, chemistry, computer science, economics, English, geography, Hindi, history, journalism and mass communication, linguistics and conservative study of tribal language, mathematics, missiology, physical education, physics, political science and human rights, psychology, social work and zoology. Assistant professor for organic chemistry in the Department of Chemistry, assistant professor in inorganic chemistry in the Department of Chemistry, assistant professor for ancient Indian history, culture and archaeology, assistant professor in mathematics in the Department of Education, assistant professor in history in the Department of Education, assistant professor in English in the Department of Education, assistant professor in psychology in the Department of Education, assistant professor in the Department of Nursing, assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacy, assistant professor in social anthropology in the Department of Sociology and Social Anthropology, assistant professor in the Department of Tribal Studies, Art, Culture and Folk Literature. Now coming to the mode of selection. The academic score as specified in UGC Regulations 2018 and its subsequent amendments shall be considered for shortlisting of the candidates for interview only, and the selection shall be based only the performing in the interview. Status of application shall be uploaded on CU Join portal. Only shortlisted eligible candidates shall be called for interview. University reserves the right to call adequate number of candidates for interview. Selection shall be based on the merit of performing in the interview. Now coming to the how to apply. Interested eligible candidates have to submit the online application available in CU Join portal. Link of CU Join portal is also available in the IGNTU website. Here the official link are mentioned. You may check down properly with carefully. Candidates are advised to read the advertisement carefully and check their eligibility and suitability before applying. Candidates are also advised to read the instruction of CU Join portal. Email ID and mobile number registered in the portal shall be used for further communication if any. Candidate who is already in service should submit his or her application through proper channel. Hard copy of application form should be reached within stipulated time. Now coming to the application processing fees. Application processing fees for online application for various category are as under: 1000 rupees for UR, OBC and EWS candidates. No application fees for SC, ST, PWD, women and transgender candidates. Application processing fees will be accepted through only online mode. Application processing fees shall be not refundable and not adjustable under any circumstances. Candidate who wishes to apply for more than one post will be required to submit separate online applications and separate processing fees. Applications without the prescribed fees would not be considered and will be summarily rejected. Now coming to the terms and conditions. Here the terms and conditions are mentioned in detail. You may check down properly with carefully. Here also mention the other conditions. You may check down properly with carefully. So these are all the details, instruction and the in detail recruitment notification regarding the professor, associate professor and assistant professor vacancies from the Indira Gandhi National Tribal University. So in intercity candidates may apply for this position. Thank you.